Can foods be addicting? When you talk to people who go on a plant-based diet, they say, this is really great, except I really, really miss cheese. What is it about this? What's going on here? But you might love cheese, but it doesn't love you back. And I'd like to talk about that in this hour. It's fattening, it's addicting, and it causes lots and lots and lots of health problems, and people have really given it a pass. They've overlooked it. So what causes weight problems? You talk to other people about this. So I'm going to argue that it's fattening for several reasons. Number one, it's loaded with calories. And you probably know this already, but if you don't, this is my most important number. A gram of sugar has 4 calories. A gram of fat has 9 calories. Well, the leanest beef is about 29% fat. Chicken, not much better, about 23. Fish vary. Some are lower, some are higher. But if you look at plant foods, they're pretty low in fat, which is why they're not very high in calories. So where is cheese? 70% fat. If it were any worse, it would be Vaseline. Secondly, fat in foods adds easily to your body fat. Here's what I mean. Let's say you ate a little bit too much bread. Would that go to body fat? Not really, at least not at the beginning. The carbohydrate that's in bread breaks apart, and it goes into your bloodstream, and it powers your muscle activity. It powers your brain. It's the fuel that your body runs on. Let's say I overdo it. I eat a lot more. Let's say I'm an athlete and I'm carbo loading. I'm eating lots and lots of bread and pasta. Does it go to fat? No. The reason athletes eat it, so much of it, is because it goes into their muscles and is stored as glycogen, which are batteries that you need when you're active. Also in your liver, glycogen is stored there too. Now, theoretically, you can build fat from carbohydrate. But even if you ate the entire loaf of bread and it was more than you needed and your glycogen stores were all filled, if you made fat from it, even that, to make bread into fat is hard for your body. And it uses up about 25% or so of its calories just to try to make it. Now, on the other hand, cheese can go very easily to fat because it's already fat. It doesn't really require much of any conversion. You eat it, it goes into your blood, stores as fat. Very simple. Okay? Number 3, fat slows your metabolism. Here's what I mean. This is a muscle cell. And the reason I'm showing you a muscle cell is you hear people say, don't lose your muscle mass. Your muscles are your calorie burners. You know what I'm talking about? Okay, so inside your muscles are mitochondria. Do you remember the mitochondria from high school biology? Those are your calorie burners. You have a lot of them, but you also have little bits of fat. Now, doctors hate words like fat because it only has one syllable, so we'll call it intramyocellular lipid, but it's fat inside your cell, and if you ate a little bit too much chicken fat or beef fat or Velveeta or fryer grease for that matter, the fat builds up inside your cell. When that happens, the cell says, fantastic, this is great. I've got some fat that I can store up, and if we happen to have a famine sometime, I'm sitting pretty. I got a lot of stored calories. Now, if the mitochondria burn it all up, it's gone. So when fat comes into the cell, the body turns down the production of mitochondria to keep the fat. And your metabolism slows down to preserve this fat richness that just came in. And that's the opposite of what you want. You say, wait a minute, I just ate too much. Why are you storing it? You've got to get rid of it. The body was programmed a long time ago when there were such things as famines. So if you ate a big fatty thing, your body says, I'll keep that. And as the years go by, the metabolism you had when you were 12 is just no longer there because the mitochondria have been disturbed. So if I'm on a low-fat vegan diet, time goes in the opposite direction. Okay, number 4, cheese does not have fiber. Now, fiber is the most boring word in this lecture. I apologize. Fiber is big stuff, though. Fiber is plant roughage. It has effectively no calories. And so when I eat high-fiber foods, it fills you up, makes you think you've eaten a lot of foods, but the fact is you haven't really eaten very much. So fiber tricks the brain into thinking you ate a huge amount of food. But Velveeta has it's not a plant. It has no fiber at all, so every last calorie in it you get, okay? So here's the fiber. Baked beans have 5 grams, broccoli and other vegetables another 5 in a cup. An apple has about 4, oranges 3, bananas, brown rice 4 grams, but cheese none. Yogurt none, milk none, meat none. Animal products don't have fiber, okay? Very simple. And fifth, a lot of people are not aware of this. Cheese has a lot of sodium. It's one of the highest salt foods that there are, and it adds water weight. And so you can build up a couple of pounds of this. Now, an orange has sodium, about 1 milligram in a typical orange, an apple about 2, a cup of brown rice, maybe 20 or so, a potato, 13 milligrams of sodium in a typical potato. Potato chips have the sodium added, and they're up at 330. 1 serving of cheddar is 350, and a serving of Edam is 500, and Velveeta weighs in at over 800 milligrams of sodium in just 1 single serving. Okay, so why is cheese fattening? It's high in calories. The fat adds to your body fat. It slows down your metabolism day by day. It doesn't have any fiber at all to control your appetite, and it adds a little extra. It has a lot of sodium, so you're carrying 2 or 3 extra pounds of water, just making your knuckles a little bit smoother and making you feel heavier and bloated. So what the heck is cheese? Well, you start with milk. This is from Widmer's cheese factory in Teresa, Wisconsin. The milk comes in the morning and they pour it in this big tub, and then they add some bacteria. And that gives it that kind of funky smell because it's fermenting the sugars that are in the milk, the lactose sugar. Then they add rennet. And you know about rennet. This is the enzyme that is in the 4th stomach of a newborn calf who is dead. And you remove the rennet enzymes and plunk that in as well. Although, incidentally, that's a rather expensive and cumbersome source, so almost all rennet now in most factories is a genetically modified product that's used. But at the traditional places like Widmer's, they pride themselves on still using the calf. So then it coagulates and they drain out all the whey, which is this mixture of water and lactose and some other things. And then they start to squeeze out the extra water, and then you're left with cheese. And you add some salt to the top, and what you have done with this process is taken liquid milk and made it solid. That increases the calories, concentrates the protein, increases the cholesterol and fat, and greatly increases the sodium. So, why do I get hooked on this? Why do people love this stuff? Well, I'm going to argue it's 3 things. People like salty things, they like fatty things, and there's something called casomorphins in the cheese. I want to tell you about all this stuff. So salt is added in quite liberal quantities as cheese is made, and that's to kill the or stop the bacteria from continuing to ferment it into mush. So they throw a lot of salt in, and that kind of makes everything stop, and it adds a flavor that people like. The greasiness everybody is aware of when you're washing your hands after eating pizza, that dairy fat is all over your fingers. And I'm going to argue that people like the combination of fatty, salty. It's why we like French fries and potato chips. But casomorphins are interesting. They are opiates. Have you heard of these? These are opiates. When I say opiates, I mean that they are in the same chemical class as heroin, or morphine, or Demerol, or any kind of narcotic painkiller. But they form as the casein protein is broken down in digestion. A typical protein is a string of beads. You look at it under a powerful microscope. There's all these little amino acid molecules joined one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And you swallow this, and your digestive enzymes break it apart. And the individual beads go into your blood, and your body takes them, the amino acids, and makes new protein. Except dairy doesn't work that way. The casein molecule does give you some individual amino acids, but it also gives you these little strings. This will not be on the test. These little strings of 4, 5, 7 amino acids. They are biologically active. They go from the digestive tract into the blood. They pass the blood-brain barrier. They attach to the very same brain receptors that heroin would attach to.